Captain Elias Varen stepped off the human transport onto the surface of Zythera, a planet bathed in twilight, where the sky shimmered with colors no human eye had ever truly seen. The air was thick with the scent of glowing flora, a mixture of sweet and metallic, and every sound seemed to echo in the distance, as if the planet itself was listening. He straightened his shoulders, adjusting the strap of his satchel that carried the fragile treaty meant to secure peace between humans and the mysterious alien empire. He had come expecting formality and cold diplomacy. Instead, Zythera whispered secrets. The ground beneath his boots pulsed faintly with light, veins of luminescence crawling along the soil like silent rivers. Towering crystal spires rose from the forests around him, catching the dim light of 2 moons and scattering it in soft, trembling rainbows. It was beautiful, but beautiful did not guarantee safety. The humans had come to negotiate, to speak words meant to bridge centuries of suspicion. Yet Elias felt an unease he could not shake. He had walked into palaces before, seen kings and rulers, but never had he felt as though the walls themselves were alive, watching, breathing. A soft hum drew his attention. It was almost imperceptible, like wind passing over a distant chime. He froze. The sound grew slightly louder, forming a melody, haunting and faintly familiar. It was a tune he had sung long ago in the quiet of his childhood home, to soothe a little sister who had always been afraid of the dark. Elias shook his head. It could not be. This was Zythera, not his home. Yet the melody tugged at something deep inside him, a memory wrapped in warmth and sorrow. He followed it instinctively, through the luminescent corridors of the alien palace that seemed to fold in impossible ways around him. At the heart of the palace he met her, Queen Lyratha. She emerged from the shadows of a hallway carved entirely from crystal, her form both regal and alien, her skin shimmering faintly with a soft inner light. Her eyes were vast, reflecting the glow of the spires, and for a moment Elias felt as if she were staring not just at him, but into him. "You are human," she said, her voice calm and commanding, yet there was an undertone that made Elias' stomach twist. It was almost recognition, but he could not place why. "Yes," Elias replied, keeping his tone steady. "I am Captain Elias Varen, here on behalf of the Human Council. I come seeking peace." "You carry a song," Lyratha said, her voice almost a whisper, though it resonated through the corridor. "I have heard it before, in another time, another life." I do not understand," he admitted, though he felt it too, the pull between memory and reality, a strange familiarity he could not explain. Lyratha stepped closer. The air around her shimmered faint ripples like waves of heat or light, distorting space in the most subtle way. Elias felt both drawn to her and cautious, as though moving too quickly could shatter something delicate, fragile, and unknown. "You will," she said softly, yet firmly. "And perhaps you are meant to understand sooner than either of us expects." It was as if the palace itself allowed only the two of them in this moment, suspended between worlds. Elias felt the weight of centuries pressing down on him. Here, diplomacy was more than words. It was a dance with forces beyond human comprehension. They walked together through the crystal halls, silent but aware of each other's presence. Elias observed Lyratha with careful attention. She moved with elegance, every step precise, yet there was a hidden tension in her shoulders. She was a queen accustomed to control, yet he sensed restraint as if she were holding herself back from something she desired or feared. "You do not fear me," Lyratha said, as if reading his thoughts. "Most humans are frightened by the unknown. But I am not afraid of you." It was as if the planet itself had conspired to place him here, at this precise moment, in front of this alien queen who carried shadows of memory he could not yet name. They entered a chamber suspended above the palace gardens. Streams of bioluminescent water cascaded from impossibly high spires, and plants glowed with soft blues and greens, humming faintly in rhythm with the palace itself. Elias was struck by the eerie beauty of it. "You have come to offer peace," Lyratha said, her voice echoing softly in the hall. "But peace is a fragile thing here, more delicate than glass. One wrong note and it shatters. Then perhaps the song you carry is more important than the words you speak. And yet you do not fear it." He swallowed hard, "And if it awakens something—" The palace hummed around them as if acknowledging the connection. Suddenly, a soft echo drifted through the hall. Elias recognized it instantly, the lullaby, but now sung in a voice that was not his own. He turned sharply, eyes scanning the hall, but no one was there. "Lyratha," he whispered, startled. "Did you—" Instead, her eyes glimmered with something he could not place, fear, wonder, recognition. I heard it, she said finally. I have always known it. It called to me across the void, across time. Why did it resonate so strongly here? And most of all, why did it make him feel that the fate of two worlds rested upon their meeting? The hum of the palace grew louder, responding to their presence, their shared recognition. It was as if Zythera itself was alive, watching, waiting, and perhaps testing them. Lyratha took a step closer, the glow of the crystal walls reflecting in her eyes. This mission, she said, her voice softer now, is not as simple as you thought. There are forces here older than humans, older than my empire, and they have been waiting for the song, for the human, for this moment. The sound of distant footsteps snapped them back. Human delegates and alien guards were approaching, their presence a reminder of duty and protocol. Elias straightened, adjusting his jacket, trying to push aside the strange pull he felt toward Lyratha. She inclined her head slightly, regal and unreadable. We will speak more later, she said, and with that she turned toward the shadows of the palace, disappearing like a wisp of light. Elias watched her go, a mixture of awe and unease churning in his chest. The lullaby still hummed faintly in the air, vibrating through the walls, through the ground, through him. He understood one truth with perfect clarity. This was no ordinary diplomatic mission. It had become something far greater, far more dangerous, and far more personal. As he followed the human delegates into the grand hall, he could not shake the image of her eyes, the sound of the lullaby, and the inexplicable certainty that everything was about to change. Somewhere in the depths of Zythera, something ancient had awakened, drawn to the human voice he carried, and it had recognized him. And in that moment, Elias realized the peace mission he had come to conduct was no longer simple. It was a beginning. The next morning, Zythera's twin suns rose slowly above the horizon, casting the forests and crystal spires in shades of pink and violet. Captain Elias Varon stood at the edge of the palace balcony, gazing out over the glowing city below. Even in the light of day, the alien world seemed alive, every leaf, every ripple of water shimmering as if holding secrets too deep to speak aloud. He felt restless. The memory of last night, the lullaby, and the Queen's strange recognition haunted him like a shadow he could not shake. It was impossible, yet undeniable. Something connected him to this alien world in ways he could not explain, and he feared both the power and the vulnerability it brought. A soft rustle behind him made him turn. Lyratha emerged from the shadows of the corridor, her robes flowing like liquid light. She did not startle him, though every instinct warned that to be near her was dangerous. Instead, he felt a curious pull, a mixture of fascination and unease. "You are awake early," Elias said. "I observe," she replied, her voice calm, but with an undertone of something he could not name. Was it longing, fear, recognition? He could not tell. "Observe what?" he asked, leaning slightly against the balcony railing. "Everything," she said simply. "This world, the threads that bind us together. There is more here than even you realize, Captain. It calls to me in ways I cannot fully understand. You are connected to something I cannot yet name, something older than my people, older than your world." Elias realized that despite her form, her age, her alien grace, she carried the same loneliness he sometimes felt on his long voyages through the stars. "Why does it matter?" he asked softly. "Why does my song matter to you, to Zythera?" "Keys, reminders of what has been lost, and what may yet be found. Your song is one of those keys." "I wish I could explain," she continued, turning back to him. "I do not know why it resonates with me, only that it does. And now that you are here, it has awakened something I cannot ignore." He realized that his mission, which he had thought would be a matter of diplomacy and negotiation, had become something far more personal. It was no longer about treaties or councils. It was about the thread that tied him to this queen, this world, and a mystery that neither of them fully understood. A sudden noise from below startled them. Guards and human delegates were approaching, their footsteps echoing across the balcony. Elias straightened, the spell of the moment broken, and turned to face them. Lyratha did not flinch, but her eyes lingered on him a moment longer than necessary, a silent acknowledgement of the connection forming between them. The delegation entered the hall, their formal expressions masking unease. Elias introduced himself, his words precise, practiced. The humans spoke of peace, trade, and the hope for cooperation. The Zytheran nobles responded with cautious diplomacy, their words flowing in alien cadences that echoed unnaturally through the palace halls. Yet throughout the conversation, Elias could not stop noticing Lyratha. She listened, measured, watched, but every so often her gaze flickered towards him with a curiosity that bordered on recognition. He felt as though she could see not just him, but through him, into the memories and fears he carried quietly beneath his composed exterior. After the formal meeting, Lyratha requested a private audience. Elias followed her through the palace corridors, the walls glowing faintly under their touch. For a moment they walked in silence, the only sound the faint hum of the palace, vibrating with the same rhythm as the song that had drawn him here. "You feel it too, do you not?" she asked suddenly. "Feel what?" he said, though his heart knew before his mind did. "The resonance," she said. "The connection, the pull between us. It is strange and yet undeniable. It is as if your voice was meant to reach me across time, across worlds. Not because of what we feel, but because of what others might see. Not all here would understand. And yet, I am drawn to it and to you whether I wish to be or not." The palace seemed to hum around them, alive with light and sound and energy that neither fully understood. Elias realized that the lullaby was more than a memory. It was a key to a story older than either of their worlds, a story that had chosen this moment to reveal itself. Suddenly, the palace trembled slightly, a subtle vibration that made the crystal walls shiver. Lyratha's eyes widened. "The resonance, it reacts to us, to our connection. We are not safe here. There are those who would see this connection as a threat. We must go now." The bioluminescent walls glowed brighter as they passed, responding to their presence, to the song that vibrated faintly in the air between them. They reached a secluded chamber overlooking the palace gardens. Lyratha closed the door behind them, and for a moment the world seemed to shrink, leaving only the two of them and the faint hum of the palace. "You are not like other humans," she said softly. "Your voice, your song, it carries something rare, something that resonates with Zythera itself." The contact was brief, but the palace seemed to respond. A pulse of light ran along the walls, and the faint melody of the lullaby echoed softly, harmonizing with some deeper alien resonance. "It is not just a song," Lyratha said, her voice trembling slightly. "It is a bridge between you and me, between our worlds. And perhaps between what was lost and what may yet be found. And yet, we cannot ignore this connection, can we?" Lyratha's face darkened with concern. "The resonance is growing stronger," she whispered, "and not all who dwell here will welcome it." The palace seemed to hold its breath, the soft glow of the walls pulsing in rhythm with the lullaby. Outside, the first rays of Zythera's sun spilled over the horizon, casting the forests in hues of gold and violet. Inside, a human and an alien queen stood together, bound by a song, by a resonance, by a connection neither fully understood, and yet they could not deny it. And somewhere, deep within the palace, the ancient forces of Zythera stirred, awakened by the human voice that had crossed the stars. Elias realized then that the peace mission he had thought simple had already begun to unravel into something far greater, far more dangerous, and far more beautiful than he could have imagined. The song had awakened the threads of memory, and the threads had chosen him. The night on Zythera fell quickly, not in darkness but in shades of deep violet and silver. The twin moons bathed the glowing forests in pale light, and the air shimmered with an almost imperceptible vibration. Captain Elias Varin had never seen anything like it. Every leaf, every stream seemed to pulse with life, as if the planet itself were breathing. Beside him, Queen Lyratha moved silently, her robes brushing the luminous ground. She had guided him through hidden corridors of the palace and led him beyond the city walls into the alien wilderness. They were alone now, far from diplomats, guards, and prying eyes. For the first time, Elias saw the raw, untamed beauty of Zythera, untouched by politics or human ambition. "You will tire quickly if you keep staring at everything like it is strange," Lyratha said softly, her voice a melody that blended with the hum of the forest. "I cannot help it," Elias admitted. "It is unlike anything I've ever known. It feels alive, almost sentient. Long before my empire, long before humans knew the stars, there are threads that bind sound, memory, and life itself. Your voice awakened one of them. It can awaken what should remain hidden. And some of them are not friendly to humans. Away from the court, the nobles, why? And I do not know if I should be afraid or grateful." The surface shimmered like liquid silver, reflecting the twin moons above. Lyratha stopped and gestured to the river. "This is a place few see," she said. "It holds secrets of the empire, of the planet itself. It remembers everything." The hum was faint but insistent, weaving through the night air, echoing off the crystal trees. "You feel it too," Lyratha said. "Yes," he admitted. It calls to me. I can feel it in my bones. You carry something older than our worlds, something that can awaken or destroy. And now it has awakened me as well. And something I cannot name, but cannot ignore. Elias realized that the lullaby had not just awakened her, it had awakened the planet's memory, and the memory was alive, watching, responding. Suddenly, a rustle of movement broke the silence. Elias instinctively stepped in front of her. From the shadows emerged a group of Zytheran warriors, their armor glinting faintly under the moon's light. "Your Majesty," one of them said, bowing low. "There are disturbances. The palace reports unusual activity. Some claim the resonance has grown stronger. It is unpredictable. Power that can heal, but also power that can destroy. I must protect the balance. But we cannot ignore it either. I cannot ignore this." The contact sent a ripple through the air, and the river shimmered brighter, the hum of the lullaby growing louder, intertwining with the forest's memory. The night deepened, and they shared stories quietly, the tension between them easing slightly. Lyratha spoke of centuries of solitude, of the burdens of her crown, of the loneliness that came with immortality. Elias spoke of his people, of the fragile hope he carried, of the fear and responsibility he bore as a diplomat. Through words and shared silences, a fragile trust began to form, a thread weaving between them. The forest seemed to acknowledge it, the lights of the river dancing brighter with each shared thought, each small gesture of understanding. Hours passed. The twin moons rose high, bathing the glowing river in silver light. Elias and Lyratha sat side by side on the riverbank, the lullaby still echoing faintly in the air, responding to the resonance between them. "You are different from any human I have known," Lyratha said softly, "and yet you are more familiar than I expected. Perhaps the song remembers me better than I do myself." She looked at him, luminous eyes reflecting the glowing river. "Together," she agreed. A distant sound echoed through the forest, a low, vibrating hum unlike anything Elias had heard before. The ground beneath their feet seemed to pulse with it. Lyratha's expression darkened. "They are aware," she whispered. "The threads, they have noticed our presence. And they are not all friendly." Elias realized that Zythera itself was alive, aware of their bond, and was preparing to reveal its secrets. The night stretched on, filled with whispers, soft lights, and the echo of a lullaby older than the stars. Elias and Lyratha, bound by the song and the awakening of the threads, understood that their journey had only just begun. And somewhere, deep in the glowing forest of Zythera, a hidden power stirred, awakened by the resonance of a human voice. The threads of memory were alive, and they were watching dawn on Zythera brought no peace. The twin suns rose slowly over the glowing forests and crystal spires, casting long shadows that twisted across the palace gardens. Even in the light, the palace seemed tense, alive with whispers of caution and unease. The threads of memory that Elias had awakened in the forest the night before pulsed faintly in the walls, humming with energy that only the sensitive could feel. Captain Elias Varin walked beside Lyratha through the grand corridors of the palace. The air was thick with anticipation, and every footstep echoed in the glowing halls like a warning. Today they would meet the council, the ruling nobles of the alien empire, many of whom already distrusted the queen's fascination with a human diplomat. "They will not understand," Lyratha said softly, her voice a mixture of frustration and worry. "Even among my closest advisors, some will see you as a threat. Some will see this connection as dangerous. They cannot yet see what I see. And some here will fear both." Elias felt the weight of their stares but held himself steady. He had faced humans before, skeptics and enemies alike, but this was different. These beings were ancient, wise, and powerful, and they knew the threads, some even feared them. "Captain Varin," one elder said, rising from her seat, "you speak of peace, yet you bring with you the resonance of something unusual. The Queen has welcomed you, but we do not yet know your intentions. Something that can help both of our peoples." Elias could feel the threads in the walls, the memory of Zythera, stirring at the resonance between him and the Queen. He realized that this connection was not hidden. The palace itself knew, and it was watching. One elder stepped forward. "If this connection brings danger, we cannot allow it. The threads are not to be disturbed lightly." "And if they remain undisturbed, what then? Do we let fear dictate our lives? Do we deny the chance for understanding because we are afraid of what we do not yet see?" Some feared the human's influence, others feared the Queen's attachment to him. Elias listened, silent, aware that his mere presence had shifted the balance of power. Every word exchanged, every glance thrown between council members carried tension that threatened to fracture the fragile peace. Finally, Lyratha spoke, her voice cutting through the murmurs. The threads have awakened. They respond to the song. We must explore this, understand it, or we risk losing what we do not yet comprehend. Captain Varen is not a threat. He is a guide. And if you cannot trust my judgment, then I fear we will see no peace at all. Elias felt the weight of her words and the responsibility of the connection they shared. After the meeting, Lyratha led Elias back to a secluded chamber. The palace seemed quieter there, the faint hum of memory wrapping around them like a protective veil. They fear what they do not understand, she said, sitting by the glowing window, and they will watch us closely. Every step, every gesture, every note of your song. And I do not know if I should, or if it is too dangerous. Lyratha shared the ancient rituals of her people, the ways they had studied and contained the threads for centuries. Elias shared human knowledge, finding patterns and melodies in the song that could harmonize with the alien memory. Together, they discovered small ways to resonate safely with the threads, testing the limits of the connection without awakening dangerous forces. As they worked, Elias noticed Lyratha's eyes softened with something he could not name. There was awe, yes, and curiosity, but also something tender, something fragile, as if she were both drawn to him and afraid of the intensity of their bond. You are different from anyone I have known, she whispered, leaning closer. And yet, it feels as if the threads have waited for you. As if they were preparing me, preparing this world for your voice. And it is not limited to the song alone, it is between us. The shadow shifted, revealing one of the palace's younger advisors, a figure known for curiosity and suspicion. The threads are reacting, the advisor said cautiously. I have never seen such resonance before. Are you certain this is safe? Fear will not guide us. Together. Elias realized that the lullaby was more than a song. It was a key to understanding the planet, and perhaps even a way to bring true peace between humans and Zytherans. But not all threads were visible, and not all memories were benign. Elias could feel the faint tremor of something hidden, watching, waiting for the wrong note, the wrong gesture. The air around them seemed heavier at times, charged with the silent weight of unseen forces. Something is watching us, Elias said quietly, gazing into the glowing forest. I can feel it, something beyond the council, beyond the palace, something older. We must be careful. One wrong step, one misaligned note, and the balance could shift. And yet you step forward willingly. I did not expect that. Not from the song, not from the threads, not from you. The threads were alive, aware, and waiting for the right moment to test them. And as the twin moons rose high above Zythera, casting the palace and forest in silver light, Elias understood one unshakable truth. The bond between him and Lyratha was no longer a secret, no longer simple, and no longer safe. The threads were watching. The threads were waiting. And their worlds were on the edge of fracture. The air over Zythera was heavy with anticipation. Twin suns had not yet risen, and the pale light of the moons shimmered over the crystal towers and glowing forests. Captain Elias Varen stood beside Queen Lyratha on a high balcony of the palace. Below them, the city of Zythera stirred quietly, aware that something extraordinary was about to unfold. The threads are restless, Lyratha whispered, her eyes reflecting the soft luminescence of the palace. They sense the bond between us, and they sense the change you carry with your song. How do we guide them without letting them break? There was tension in every movement, every whisper. Some of the council still distrusted Elias, fearing the human influence on the queen. Others watched with curiosity, sensing that what was about to happen was greater than politics, greater than power, greater even than centuries of tradition. Lyratha led Elias through the glowing halls to a chamber that opened to the heart of the palace, where the oldest threads of Zythera were stored. The walls pulsed softly with memory, humming with the energy of countless songs, voices, and lives. The threads were alive, moving subtly, as if watching, waiting for the signal that Elias' song might provide. You must sing, Lyratha said softly, her hand brushing his. Not for me, not for them, but for the threads themselves. Let the melody flow, and the memory will respond. He began to hum, softly at first, feeling the vibration of the palace respond. The threads shimmered, small pulses of light rippling along the walls. Lyratha stepped beside him, her own voice joining his. It was not words, but tones, harmonizing with the melody of his song. Her voice carried centuries of memory, centuries of wisdom, and yet there was softness, a human-like warmth that complemented his own notes. Together, their voices intertwined, echoing through the chamber and into the glowing forests outside. The threads responded. Shapes of light and memory rose from the walls, twisting and flowing like liquid crystal. Elias felt them brush against his mind, teasing out memories, emotions, and echoes of the planet's history. Some were gentle, showing images of long-lost celebrations, glowing rivers and forests untouched by time. Others were sharp, testing his resolve, reminding him that power without care could bring imbalance. He did not falter. Lyratha's presence steadied him. Her hand in his, her eyes glowing with trust and understanding, gave him courage. He allowed the lullaby to grow, to expand, to resonate fully with the threads, and he felt the subtle energy of the planet respond. Outside the palace, the citizens of Zythera noticed the shift. Light danced across the forests and streams, moving in harmony with the melody. Even those who did not understand the music felt the pulse of life, the warmth of connection, and a strange sense of hope. Inside the chamber, the council watched, some with fear, some with awe. They had seen the potential for destruction in the threads before, yet now they witnessed the careful weaving of sound, memory, and emotion. They realized that this was not danger, it was creation. A new balance being awakened, guided by the human's song and the queen's resonance. Hours seemed to pass like minutes. Elias' voice never wavered, though fatigue tugged at him. Lyratha's harmonies carried the weight of centuries, and together they navigated the threads carefully, feeling which memories could awaken and which should remain dormant. Then suddenly a subtle tremor passed through the chamber. The threads pulsed brighter than ever, the hum rising to a crescendo that vibrated in every surface. Shapes of memory, light, and energy twisted in intricate patterns, as if the threads themselves were alive and dancing to the melody. Elias felt the power rising, a mix of awe and fear. One wrong note, one hesitation, and the threads could turn chaotic. He glanced at Lyratha, her luminous eyes meeting his, filled with trust and encouragement. He realized then that it was not skill alone that mattered, it was the bond between them. Their connection guided the song, gave it purpose, and anchored the threads. He sang louder but with care, letting emotion and intention flow into each note. Lyratha's voice followed, harmonizing perfectly, guiding the threads to respond with harmony, not chaos. The chamber glowed brighter, the palace itself resonating with their unified song. And then, as if acknowledging the completion of the ritual, the threads pulsed once more, a final shimmering wave spreading through the palace and into the forests beyond. The glow softened, the hum quieted, and for a moment there was perfect stillness. Elias and Lyratha looked at each other, breathless. The threads had accepted the melody. The memory had responded. Zythera itself seemed to sigh, a deep, gentle release of energy that washed over them, filling them with warmth, relief, and hope. "It is done," Lyratha whispered. "The threads, they recognize harmony now. The balance is restored. The danger has passed." "Together," she said, her voice soft but strong. "And now you understand what I meant before. That connection, trust, resonance, it is more than a song. It is the bond between us, between worlds. And I cannot imagine turning back." Inside the chamber, the council remained silent for a moment, absorbing the magnitude of what had happened. One elder, previously skeptical, stepped forward. "I see now," she said. "The bond you share is not a threat. It is a gift to our people, to your people, and to the planet itself. And it is a gift we must nurture, carefully and wisely, as it has the power to guide the threads and the future." As the twin suns began to rise over the horizon, their golden light mingling with the lingering glow of the moons, Elias realized that the mission he had embarked upon had transformed far beyond what he could have imagined. It had been a mission of peace, yes, but it had become a journey of discovery, of connection, and of harmony between worlds. He looked at Lyratha, her luminous eyes reflecting the dawn. She smiled faintly, and he saw the centuries of solitude and duty softened by the resonance they shared. The threads had been guided safely, the planet had accepted the melody, and a fragile but powerful bridge had been built, not just between human and Zytheran, but between memory, song, and the future. "Elias," she said, her voice breaking the quiet of the early morning, "I do not know what the future holds. There will be challenges, there will be skeptics, and there will always be threads we cannot see. But I know this, together we can face them. Whatever it is, we face it together." The palace glowed with a new light, the forest shimmered in patterns that reflected harmony, and even the distant rivers seemed to sing softly, echoing the lullaby that had started it all. Elias realized then that some songs are never just music. They are bridges. They are keys. They are hope. And some, when shared between the right voices, can change worlds. He smiled at Lyratha, and she returned the smile, faint but full of promise. Together they had navigated fear, uncertainty, and the mysteries of Zythera. Together they had awakened harmony, and together they would face whatever came next. The twin suns rose fully over the horizon, bathing the palace, the forests, and the rivers in golden light. The song of two worlds had been sung, and the threads had listened. The human voice had bridged worlds, and the alien queen had answered. The harmony of Zythera and of something greater had begun.